phone call. See?
The light's not on.
I know.
Did someone turn on the microphone?
They are turned on.
Allison's isn't.
On record.
All right. Hello, and today is April 29th. The time is now 5 o'clock, and this is the Lincoln City Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee meeting, and I would like to call to order this meeting. For those that wish to speak before the Budget Committee, please sign up at the sheet near the entrance door to the council chambers. You'll be called to speak during agenda item number G, comments from citizens present. And I would like to now have a roll call, please.
Dick Anderson.
Here.
Larry Armstrong. Judy Casper.
Here.
Estill Harlan.
Here.
Deanna Hinton.
Here.
Riley Hoagland.
Here.
Kevin Holmbaum.
Here.
Diane Coos.
Here.
Rick Mark.
Here.
Chester Norikis. Nancy Oxenholt.
Here.
Mitch Parsons.
Here.
Elaine Starmer. And Susan Walke.
Here.
All right, Mr. Chandler's here. I would now like to open the floor for nominations for the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee. Chairman is first.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to nominate Riley Hoagland as chair.
A nomination, is there a second?
Second.
We have a nomination and a second for myself. Are there any further nominations for the Urban Renewal Agency Chairman? Hearing none, would I entertain a motion to close the nominations?
I so move.
Thank you. We have a motion to close
Second.
and a second. Thank you. All in favor of those wishing to, do I have to?
We do a roll.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you're right. May I have a roll call?
Who seconded it?
I did.
Yeah. I don't know if, is it an all?
It's just a voice vote.
Okay. Did I miss an all vote? Or was I all right? Because we just opened it for nominations and then closed it. Am I on track?
The vote is for closing the nominations.
All right. So all in favor of closing the nominations, please say aye.
Aye.
And oppose? All right. Very good. Thank you all very much. I appreciate
I
that.
move to appoint Riley Hoagland
Oh.
as chair of the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is that also?
Aye or nay?
All right. All in favor of myself as chair, please say aye.
Aye.
And all oppose? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Walke. I would now like to open the floor for nominations for vice chair for the Urban Renewal Agency.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I nominate Susan Walke.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for Ms. Walke. I'd like to entertain any motions for anyone else who would like to nominate someone for vice chair. Okay. Is there a motion to close the nomination?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Holmbaum and Mr. Mark. All in favor of closing the nominations for the vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Hearing none?
Ms.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move to appoint Susan Walke as vice chair.
Second.
Ms. Hinton.
That was quick. All right, we're ready to
All
go.
right, all right. Yeah, we got, trying to get through the, exactly.
Good game tonight.
Exactly. All right, so we have a motion and a second for Ms. Walke. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Nay? Any nays? Okay, hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are now at D, rules of procedure.
Way to go.
Was that Mr. Chandler, or who's on that?
I've had a little bit of a frog on my throat, in my throat. By the way, we have 7 hours and 21 minutes to finish tonight, otherwise my battery runs out on the computer. Automatically have to stop.
So funny.
I've also been told that sometimes these presentations can be a bit boring, even sleep-worthy. So I have brought my new my new budget committee shirt, so if you get bored, you can just try to figure out the pattern on the shirt. So as far as the procedures go, let me talk a little bit of the distinction between the urban renewal budget and the city budget. The urban renewal is a separate legal entity from the city itself, even though all of the city councilors or the city council make up the urban renewal board agency. It is a separate entity, and therefore its budget has to be considered separately from the city budget. You'll notice that as we talk about both budgets, there's some overlap where there are things that our staff, we have a staff of 1.5 people that make up the urban renewal district. They split their time between some things for the city and some things for the urban renewal agency. One of the things that you'll notice is that the urban renewal, well, let me go back to a little bit more procedures. I'm going to end up saying this twice. It's easier for the urban renewal budget than it is for the city council. In the past, we've had a process where, as you discuss the budget, if there are changes or amendments that you would like to consider, or if there are questions that you have that need more research on our part, we'll make sure we jot that information down, take it back with us, bring it back to the next meeting to give those answers. If we can, we'll send it to you in a staff report before the next meeting so that it gives you plenty of time to review it and consider the budgetary impact. One of the things, I don't expect it to be much for the urban renewal budget, more for the city budget, is that one of the processes we did last year that did not work out as well as I had hoped was when we got to the very end, the very last meeting, we had quite a few changes. And one of the concerns that was expressed to me by some of the committee members was that it didn't give people a chance to evaluate those changes in the context of the whole. So what I am going to be asking of you is that we have 2 meetings for the urban renewal budget and 3 meetings for the city council budget. What I'm going to be asking is that all recommendations that you have are done by the end of this meeting for urban renewal budget or the second meeting for the city council budget, so that we can bring back a full analyzed impact to the budget, so that the last meeting that you have just looks at the proposed changes. If there are only a few changes, we can follow the procedures we've done in the past where we just address each of them individually. If there's a lot of changes, one of the other concerns that I had is that we just kind of went chronologically by the way we received it, which meant that the things at the first were approved. There were things at the end that were not approved that would have been liked to approve, but we just simply ran out of money. And so if we have a lot of those kind of changes, then what I will ask of you is that you make a motion to adopt the budget as amended and identify the changes you want in the budget, and then you have to convince 7 other people to agree with you. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was going to ask in the next meeting, those changes that we would like, because if those that have them, to present them today so that we know those are the things right away that the
would be
difference
great.
is, so that we have time to look at the implications that way.
Yeah, that's the thing I really want to make sure is that there's plenty of time to do this. Now, we have a 14-member budget committee. 13 members are here. In the budget committee, you have to have a quorum to meet. That's 8. That's, in our case, it would be 8 people. For voting, you have to have a quorum of the full membership, which means you have to have 8 people to vote to approve the budget. So if there's only 8 people, 8 of you that show up for the last meeting, then all 8 of you have to approve the budget. If there's 9, then 8 of you still have to approve it. If all 14 are here, 8 of you still have to vote to approve the budget. Okay. Any other questions on procedure? Okay. The Urban Renewal Agency is at a bit of a transition right now. The City Council is very aware of this. Our current district is coming to an end of its life. The agency itself is not coming to an end, but the district is. And which means that the finances that are available for the Urban Renewal Agency are very small by comparison to what they have been. Much of the work of the Urban Renewal Agency staff will be devoted in the city funds for the creation of new districts. That is done by the city. Once they are created, then they become part of the Urban Renewal Agency. And there's really nobody better in the city to explain this transition than Allison. So I'm going to turn it over to her and just let her go through this budget.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me here tonight. So I think what I'd like to do is just start with the budget message and just hit a few high points, if that's okay, and then I'm happy to go through the funds and answer any questions that you have. Okay.
So one final thing for this. We've got the screen with the budget on it. This is for anybody who's watching it. It's not for you. There's nothing on this that you won't have in front of you in your packet. So over here particularly, it's very difficult to see. This is for people at home, if they will be looking at the same page as you are. If by chance our folks at home want to pull up the budget, they can go to our webpage and go to where it says Lincoln City Urban Renewal Budget, and they can pull that up and have it right in front of them. It'll be the same way for the city budget as well, but there's nothing that we'll have on the screen that you won't have in front of you, so you don't need to even worry about that.
Okay. This budget is the agency's 5th year of what we call the under-levy plan, and that was a 10-year extension starting in 2014 to extend the agency's activities and projects for the district. And the under-levy plan reduces the revenue, the district's available revenue, by 80% while providing the opportunity to fund important North End public works infrastructure, community vision projects, and economic development funding through grants and loans to local partners and businesses. The agency's final bond sale for this district, which was just under $3 million, which brought us up to our what they call maximum indebtedness of $43 million, which has been used since 1988 when the Urban Renewal Plan was adopted. That final bond that was sold will be repaid in 2021, 3 years earlier than what was anticipated. And you can see reference to that bond revenue in the URA construction fund, which is 833 of the budget. Once the capital projects are complete, the agency has directed any remaining funds to be allocated to the economic development toolbox or loan programs. As you might remember, we have a facade improvement loan, business expansion loan, and a couple of other tools in the toolbox. So the proposed budget outlines some projects to be completed. And first I'll talk about the Cutler City Community Vision and Corridor Plan, which is a 2008 effort. There's one remaining project for that Community Vision Plan, and that is basically a sidewalk connection. You might have heard me say we have one sidewalk left to build. Very exciting, and this sidewalk will connect the two Highway 101 turnouts. You might know the one in Cutler City that's just north of the Bay House property. That was done last year, and so we'd like to build a sidewalk connection between that turnout and the one that is just immediately south of the Schooner Creek Bridge. So we have in the budget $15,000 for contracted services, which would finish the design of that project, and then $250,000 to do the construction. We are hoping that we can do that in this budget year. I'm going in that direction, but we are also in ODOT's right-of-way, so we are also partnering with them, so we don't have full control of that project. Also, in February of 2018, the agency made available 4 sites for property development. These properties include Northwest 15th Street, which is Ocean Lake District's feature street, Northeast 1st Street, which is D River or Hostetler Park, Southeast 32nd Street in Nelscott, and Southwest 51st Street at the end of Taft's Feature Street, Southwest 51st. And the agency wishes to sell or lease these properties through a development agreement in order to achieve community, city, and agency objectives. The budget presents funding for associated costs such as continued marketing and closing costs, and for the agency to work with specialized development consultants to assist staff with the development projects. So we have $35,000 in the budget for contracted services. We also, last year, I'm very excited to say that we switched our loan servicing contract to the Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments. They do small business lending. They've been doing that for years. They are on the ball. They are responsive. I cannot say enough good things about this partnership. And so we are remarketing the program. We were not marketing it so heavily in the last year or two because of concerns with that. But all those concerns are now gone, and we're happy to start talking again about all the great economic development tools that we have available. So the Property Rehabilitation Loan Program, or Facade Improvement Loan, is a no-interest revolving fund that was established in 1999 with $1.2 million as an effort to assist property owners with building facade improvements after the Taft Village revitalization plan. And in 2013, the agency also made available no-interest energy efficiency loans and low to no-interest business expansion loans, also a local program support grant. And then in 2014, the agency approved a 2-year pilot project to partner with the Bay Area Merchants Association to fund a downtown manager. So since 1999, the agency has made over 42 loans, and about $1.85 million have gone out into the community and been repaid. And you can see in the 832 fund that we have allocated, the amount is kind of strange. It's $730,029, and that's because whatever funds are still in that bucket of loan funding, that's the remainder or residual amount. And then we put $150,000 in the line item for economic development loan programs because we think that we might have one $75,000 loan for energy efficiency and one $75,000 loan for business expansion. Of course, depending on what market interest we get, we can move those monies according to what the applications are. Let's see. Moving on to the Economic Development Grant Program. This is administered also through Urban Renewal in conjunction with our local economic development partners. This includes the Local Program Support Grant and Downtown Manager Program. The Local Program Support Grant has been used for the past 5 years by the Oregon Coast Community College Small Business Development Center, which provides opportunities for workforce development and training for business owners and employees within the Urban Renewal District. Funds are proposed to continue for a 2-year pilot project through a partnership with the Bay Area Merchants Association, or BAMA, to fund their downtown manager. As of the writing of this message, BAMA has invoiced us for about $30,000, $28,000 a year, so $56,000 is what staff was operating under, the assumption of remaining under that $56,000, and so 30 of the 56, they have roughly $26,000 left. So we are watching to make sure that that is not exceeded for that original 2-year pilot project. The agency should continue to consider a revisit of the economic development toolbox of options for additional programs that would support public property development as well as local business retention and expansion, or what is called BR&E. And employment opportunities. Existing programs may also have opportunities to further agency and partner objectives. So we have about $48,000 in the Economic Development Grant Program for those two things. We also have in the 833, the construction fund, we have some additional capital reserve, and then you will also see a transfer of capital reserve to the property rehab fund or toolbox, which is basically moving some funds that we know we will not need for capital over to the toolbox, which is what the agency had directed. We also have the 27 years of urban renewal. We have a list of all the projects that we've done, almost current. As soon as we finish our last sidewalk, then I'll update that document and we'll have the final, here's what we've done since 1988 in the district document. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Allison? And you say in January 2018, the loan servicing was taken over by Oregon Cascades. And do we know that things are going better? I mean, that's a little over a year ago, so that's...
Yes. We get regular quarterly statements. We get emails within 2 days of asking any questions. We've heard from our loan payees that they're a pleasure to deal with, and so we've had nothing but positive feedback.
Good.
Allison, do they also get a fee for service for that service?
Yes, they do.
Is it a percentage, or how does it?
It is estimated. We've got a contract with them, and it's basically hourly.
Okay.
So some loans take more time to process and service than others. And then if there's more in-depth information that needs to be drummed up with financial reports or something like that, that's when a loan can be more expensive than a loan that doesn't need as much. So it also has to do with if the loan is taken out by the property owner or by a business owner, because collateralization of personal property versus real property, some takes longer than others. And so every loan is different, but yes, they
Okay.
are paid for those loans.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that fee included in the miscellaneous contracted services?
It is included, yeah. Yeah, I think it's an 832.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
she's still looking.
Yes.
It is an 832.
6201119.
Yes.
Of the Property Rehab Program Fund, number 832.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to find it. It must be in here, so you can help me. The city council has directed Urban Renewal to look at a new area for a new district or two. Where in here do I see that work happening?
That's a great question. That will actually be in the city budget under economic development,
Not in
not in
urban
the urban renewal
area.
budget.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Allison, I had a resident approach me and express some consternation about the potential sale of a park at D River. Can you address that a little bit? I'm not familiar with what's being sold there.
Sure. Basically, the property that is adjacent Highway 101, I believe it's less than 1/4 of an acre, and when Urban Renewal purchased the property, it was always intended to be a redevelopment site. And the property that is just to the east of it, where there's a lot of natural brush and more wetland, that is actually city open space property. So the parcel that is to the east will never be changed and will always remain as open space, whereas the property that abuts Highway 101, which is owned by Urban Renewal, will be redeveloped.
It's about a 1/4 acre, you say?
I think it's a little less than that, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions? Yes, sir.
Allison, the final bond will be repaid in 2021, 3 years earlier than expected. Why is that? What happened?
I'll answer that if you'd like. If you look in Fund 831, which is page 7, this is the fund that accounts for the collection of property taxes that Urban Renewal receives and the repayment of the debt. And we have just accumulated over time a fund balance. We're expecting to end this 1920 year with a $1.179 million fund balance, and I'm assuming you can't collect more property taxes than what you owe. So I think with one more year's collection plus the fund balance, we'll have collected enough to pay the debt. So I'm assuming we have to stop then.
Well done. Also, in the second to the last paragraph on page 1, Allison, you talk about renewed interest in the agency's programs. Indicated how, that renewed interest?
This is about our marketing efforts that we're doing for our loan programs, and we have had quite a few calls and even some initial applications come in that were not complete enough to process, but we've had conversations with people about those loan programs.
So more phone calls, more inquiries.
Yes.
And the downtown manager program, how did that work out? What were the results of that?
I think that we have seen more increased membership, and again, it'd be best if BAMA were able to speak on directly to that. But as far as I know, there's been increased membership and more activities and events, and more consistent meetings. So I'd leave it up to the agency to evaluate.
And we're going to engage in a second pilot project?
No, there were some holdups with their hiring of a downtown manager initially. And so although the agency approved the tool, we didn't actually get started using the tool until sometime later. I think maybe even almost a year later. And so the 2 years has kind of moved forward through the budget. So you will see it in retrospect budgets longer than 2 years. And then because it didn't start billing right at July 1, it's rolled across budget years as well, with the understanding that the 2 years was $28,000 a year for 2 years, given the annual budget process. And so staff has budgeted and overseen that activity accordingly.
Thank you.
Ms. Oxenholm.
Allison, is there a downtown manager at present?
There is a downtown manager, and I believe that she's been, I think, there for 2 or 3 months now. And there was a report given to the agency, I think, in January, kind of an update and introduction. So
Who would that be?
her name is Sherry Stewart.
Shelley.
Oh, sorry, Shelley. Sherry Stewart's with SHPO.
Any further questions? Mr. Anderson?
Just for clarification, this is not new money. This is just the remaining amount from the 28,000 for 2 years.
Correct.
So there was a commitment made to do it for 2 years / or use up the 56.
2 years of funding at 56.
So
It wasn't a time, it was a money. Right.
as it's working out, yes.
Right.
Thanks, good clarification. So we're not asking for new money, we're
Nope.
just extending, using up the rest of the money that kind of wasn't used.
Correct.
As it didn't start at the beginning of it, so we're over multiple
Right.
budgets.
Yes.
Dick, I wasn't clear on that.
Right. Any further questions?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
The Urban Renewal Agency owns 4 pieces of real property, and they are currently up on the market to be sold. I don't see any projected income from the sale of those properties.
Yes, we are in confidential negotiations with developers on those 4 properties, and so we don't yet know, until we get to a development agreement, we don't yet know what the revenue will be from those sale.
On all 4? I'm sorry.
On all 4, yes.
But that money will go back into the Urban Renewal Agency budget, correct?
Yes, it would. It would be an asset that was program income is what it would be considered. Yeah.
Well, we won't necessarily get money, right? It depends on the agreement.
Yes.
'Cause it
Yeah.
could be a public-private partnership, and we could contribute the land for some, so there may or may not be money received from those properties, depending on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's our presentation. Agency.
All right. Well, let me put this down. And go back here. Okay, so since we're going, I I don't see any other questions that, or monetary changes that would
There is something that you have to do, and that is that you do have to require, or you do have to provide an opportunity for the public to comment.
Sure.
If you don't have any changes to the budget, you could make a motion tonight to approve the budget.
Okay, so let's open the floor to comments from citizens present. All right, I don't have anybody coming forward.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
are we going to be going through the numbers at all?
If so desired, I mean, I would open this up to this, for me, that is this time to question where the money was. And if you have questions, by all means, please ask.
Thank you. On page 4, Allison, Cutler City Planning, estimate 0, proposed budget proposal 0. We're
But on
spending
page-
$250,000, aren't we?
Yes, that's a great question. And in the past, we had done capital projects out of the general fund, and then as our general fund was diminishing and we had our bond proceeds go into the 833 construction fund, all of our capital transactions have been going out of the 833 fund. So if you turn to
Page 9.
9, it should be in there.
9 of the city budget.
No, urban renewal budget.
Oh, yeah. 9 on the,
You'll see account number 833 and then 6340261, which is Cutler City Projects for $250,000. It's proposed.
Thank you.
any other further line item questions or things anyone would like to bring up? Okay. So, I don't see a need to have a second URA budget committee meeting myself, and would entertain motions to.
Chair,
Sir.
I move that we approve the URA budget as presented.
Second.
So a motion and a second to approve the URA budget as presented.
Excuse me.
That's Mr. Hombaum. And Ms. Hinton, second. We have, yes, ma'am.
Do we need to open a public hearing? You asked for public comment, but.
Correct.
The public hearing happens at the agency level. When the Urban Renewal Agency adopts the budget, you just need to allow for public comment at the Budget Committee
Okay.
level.
It called for both on the agenda.
Yeah, H was after the hearing, so it is not approved and then opening up for hearing, or it is that?
We're okay.
You already you already asked for public comment.
Okay,
so.
so that covers it. Okay. So, Ms. Steer, this will be a roll call? All right. If it's all voice vote, then that's fine. All in favor of approving the budget as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Because we're talking about a budget and which contains
We'll do a
money, I
voice.
would really like
Okay, well-
Do a roll call vote.
I was just listening to Ms. Steer. All right.
Actually,
Stickler.
It's fine.
Debbie, I think what they're talking about is the public hearing for the revenue sharing.
That's at the city.
Okay, because it was on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to do that for the city, but not urban. Urban renewal.
Just one.
So is that an error in the agenda? Item H, public hearing.
I neglected to bring the agenda with me.
Both the
Frisbee,
agenda
you, my
and
laptop.
the agency communication memo were not adapted for the urban renewal budget very well.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Oops.
So we are to the point of a roll call. All in favor, yes? Or is-
Okay,
is that
I'll-
where we're at?
I don't
So,
need
Roll call.
Roll call? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Steer.
Anderson,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Harlan,
Yes.
Hinton,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Hohenbaum,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Norikis.
Yes.
Oxenholt.
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
Starmer. And Walke.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very well. Any other comments from the Urban Renewal Agency budget members? All right, so we do not need to schedule a second meeting, Mr. Chandler? All right, we are adjourned.
Way to go, Alice.
All right. So if we can do 37 minutes for the next meeting.
You have to wait till 6.
I know. All right. See you guys here in a little bit.
That'd be nice. That's almost time to go eat.
I heard there's something over here. Right around the corner.
That's the secret.
Debbie?